A scathing new government report showing major misconduct by the people whose job it is to keep you, the air travelers out there, safe. The Government Accountability Office finding thousands of cases of TSA misconduct. Problems like sleeping on the job, letting relatives go by without getting screened, and leaving work without permission. Doug McElway, who would never do that, is live in Washington with details. Hi, Doug.
Shannon, I used to take a nap on the job every day, so that's not necessarily true. But in any event, the GAO report was prompted in part by media coverage of some incendiary examples of TSA misconduct in recent years. No critic more vocal about TSA misconduct than John Micah of Florida, who wants the agency privatized.
I mean, some of the incidents have been totally embarrassing, embarrassing to the thousands of TSA employees that get up and do a good job every day. Orlando Airport, they featured, which is one of my airports, local airports, an employee was caught in a media sting, stealing a computer. And there's another case, I think, in your report, Mr. Lord, of, again, theft there. We have the Newark situation was so embarrassing. The supervisor was advising the TSA employee on how to steal contents of passengers' luggage.
The report seeks to quantify TSA's misconduct. It finds the largest category of misconduct was showing up late for work and improper cases of leave. That comprised 32% of misconduct. Screening and security issues accounted for 20% of infractions. Among those officers found to have engaged in misconduct, 47% were reprimanded, 31% suspended, 17% removed from duty. More troublesome for some members of Congress, the lack of a standard for punishing bad apples. For example, screeners who failed to detect bombs in covert testing are not dismissed, but are usually allowed to redo their training. Yet the TSA maintains this misconduct is rare. It employs 56,000 people and found 9,600 cases of misconduct. And there are some very nice stories about the TSA. One member cited the case of an agent finding an envelope with hundreds of dollars in cash on the floor and turning it in, and another finding hundreds of dollars in an ATM, who also turned that in. Shannon?
Plenty of good folks in there as well. Doug, thank you so much.
Right.
All right, for more on this report, let's bring in Mike Gallagher, syndicated radio host and Fox News contributor, joining us now on the phone. All right, Mike, I know that you are not, up to this point, a fan of the TSA, how it always operates. Were you surprised at all by the report? I mean, those numbers sound pretty high.
Well, Shannon, I think the big story is the management and the management of TSA, which has always been a question, I think, and always been a problem. I mean, any company that was run the way the TSA is run, you look at the top. And any of us who are frequent flyers, who go through our nation's airports on a regular basis like I do, know that there's a real inconsistency in terms of the kind of person who is at the nation's airport checkpoints. And so at the end of the day, you got to say, and I think the bigger part of this story is the idea of how these guys are being punished. And as the report you just featured pointed out, there's a real lack of accountability when it comes to how to punish these people who are doing things as egregious as sleeping on the job and bringing their relatives, through lines and everything else. Where's the accountability? And, it goes all the way to the top. You look at John Pistole and the head of TSA and some of these crazy decisions to allow people to have knives on planes, the small pocket knives. We went through that whole thing earlier in the year. And so I think it's a problem, Shannon, at the top. And it seems like the TSA management has an awful lot of explaining to do, and they're just doing a bad job.
All right. For its part, the TSA says it holds its workers to the highest ethical standards, also says it has zero tolerance for misconduct. And yet this report appears to be in conflict with that. It says, 50% of those who got busted for sleeping on the job didn't even get the minimum punishment. Now, is there something in place protecting these employees, keeping them from being punishable, essentially?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, there's the whole question. There's the whole aspect of the sort of quasi-union protection or the union mindset that permeates through the rank and file of TSA. There's some wonderful people, Shannon, who work in these checkpoint lines. But listen, as somebody who goes in and out of the Newark security lanes a lot, at the Newark International Airport, I mean, the last experience I had, I even blogged about it and tweeted that these were people who I think you'd be reluctant to hire for even an hourly fast food job. I mean, there's people cussing and using obscenities. I couldn't believe how unprofessional they behaved at one particular TSA checkpoint at the Newark International Airport. And this is happening at airports all over the country. And so, first of all, I think there's a question about the statement. That ought to be challenged about what is the real caliber of the people who are working in at these TSA checkpoints. But more importantly, again, back to what would the reluctance be to punish somebody who does something as egregious as fall asleep on the job? I mean, I got an idea. You fire somebody who falls asleep on a job that's supposed to be as important to security as making sure a bad guy doesn't bring weapons through the checkpoint line. So that's where the lack of accountability is, it seems to me, at the very top, not so much the rank and file.
Mike Gallagher, good to talk to you. Have a great day.
Thanks, Shannon. Take care.